All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Appreciate everybody joining this installment of the Wyoming Airports Coalition Lunch and Learn. For those of you that don't know me, I am Wes Werbelow. I am the corporate board member of the Wyoming Airports Coalition and also serve on the education committee. I know a lot of folks are used to seeing the great, mysterious Kyle Butterfield kind of leading the charge on these, but he had some travel this week, so he turned the reins over to me. And I think I've got a handle on how to run this Zoom platform, so we'll bear with us if we stumble a little bit there. But kind of get us going, I just want to start off with it was great to see everybody in Jackson at the last month's conference. I know we had a great time, and it was just great to catch up with everybody. And again, just want to give a a great commendation to the folks at Jackson and everybody involved there. They put on a great conference. Everybody had a lot of fun. I know that's a lot of planning, a big heavy lift that comes into the host community, and Jackson just knocked it out of the park. So thanks again to those folks. Didn't just want to give a reminder that we're always looking for speakers and topics. We have a list of topics if you're ever interested on speaking on something, but if you just have a topic that you would, really passionate about and would really like to talk to the group about, always open to having some folks do that. So reach out to Kyle, myself, and Bruce Ransom and Riley Wilson are also on the education committee. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to this month's presenter. Her name is Laura Miao. She's the president of New Deal De-icing. Going to chat with us today about some de-icing chemicals, which is really timely as we are staving off winter, but we are not far away from it. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to you, Laura.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you. Can people hear me okay?
Yep,
Okay.
gotcha.
How many people are there? Participants 18. Okay. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to share my knowledge and passion with you guys. I am Laura. I started New Deal de-icing in the year of 2009. So that was 16 years ago. Time flies when you're having fun. And all I see is my own big face. Do I get to see something else? Is really distracting here. Kyle, Wes, are you able to do something? Or am I able to click something so I could see something else other than my big face? Uh-oh.
Hey, Laura, I think with the platform, we can see the number of participants, but you won't be able to see anybody else.
Oh, I won't be.
Yeah, so sorry,
Because
you're going.
I have never talked to myself like this before. If you don't mind, can you just leave like this so at least I get to talk to you instead of
Yep.
talking to myself? I am so sorry. I feel embarrassed.
Nope. I presented a few months ago and it was a little unsettling because I was just talking to myself. So I'll stay on here for you.
Okay, okay. Well, thank you. I'll just pretend you are a bunch of people. So, well, have any of you guys heard of the Branson Airport in Missouri? And if you have not, that was a privately funded and built commercial airport funded by a bunch of investors on the East Coast. It cost $150 million to plow down the Ozark Hills in southern Missouri. They put a runway there and a passenger terminal that looks like the Bass Pro Shop. So my husband was hired as the number two to get the airport designed, built, and later operated. So the winter right before the airport was scheduled to open in 2009. So the winter of 2008, 2009 the FAA was coming to do an ILS check. However, in southern Missouri, we get the very wet precipitation, freezing rain, sleet, and then followed by wet snow. So the runway froze over. So in order to get the runway open for FAA's ILS check, he had to purchase some de-icing product to get the runway thawed. So the only one that was able to provide the product, it was the NAC ball. So as soon as he received it, he put the product down on the giant ice rink, hoping it will melt in a few hours. But to his surprise, the wind picked up and all the styrofoam BBs got blown away. He's like, oh, what the crap? There goes my money. So that night he came home and told me the story, and he said, I got an opportunity for you. Why don't you give me a better product? So that's how I started doing research and learning about Airfield de-icing product, about FAA requirement, and I found a manufacturer in China at that time that was the only manufacturer that could make an FAA approved product. So I imported the first container and brought it to the Branson airport. So my husband tried it out the first year. Even though the pallets all collapsed, the bag was crappy, the product was hard to come out of the bag, but at least the ice melting performance was okay. It was better than the round ball BBs. So that was the first winter, and then the second winter I sold to 11 airports, the next winter 26 airports, the next winter 40 airports. And so it grew from there. So last winter season, our 15th year winter, we proudly provided product to 161 airports nationwide and a number of airline stations at all the major airlines. So that growth, it was a lot of fun, a lot of difficulties and problems to work through. And I have learned a lot and grown a lot as a person as well. So I think our advantage, our success was that we always listen to our users. So when the product started, it was white, it was dusty. And several years later, the maintenance manager at Branson Airport just kind of was chatting with us and said, hey, wouldn't it be nice if the product was like in another color instead of white? So when I put the product, if it's blue or some pink or something, when I put the pellets on the snow, I can see where it is. So I don't have to get on my hands and knees and see if it's coming out of the spreader, if the product was spreaded. So we're like, that's a great idea. Let's make it blue so it's visible, so it's user friendly. As a result, we came up with the first colored solid airfield deicer in the industry. And I chose blue because blue is America's favorite color. And so the advantage of colored visibility product obviously is that you don't waste a product because you don't over apply, and you don't under apply because and save time, so you don't have to go back and reapply how many times. So the visibility allows the user to eyeball the application, make their life a lot easier. And then several years later, my husband was using the product again. So when he opened the bag, it was hard to open on the bottom. Usually, users had to cut the bag and then run away. So his idea was, I wish to have a super sack product that I can just pull a rope and the bottom will just dump. Much easier and safe and faster to load the spreader. And so we came up with a remote open fast release super sack packaging. And that again improved the user's work to make it easier, safer, and faster to load spreader. Because during winter weather condition, really the time is critical. You want product to work well, to work fast, and you need packaging to work fast, and you still need safety when you're loading spreader in the wet condition. So one single step remote open release is a lot easier for the user. And then back in 2015, that's 10 years ago. 10 years ago, so in the state of Alaska, Alaska airports were liquefying urea to turn solid urea into liquid urea to use it as a liquid deicer because it costs so much to ship water from the lower 48 by truck, by train, and then by barge from Seattle. And then after it gets to Alaska, it takes more trucking. So it's a lot of transportation costs to ship water to Alaska. So they always had urea capability to liquefy on site. So they don't have to pay a bunch of money to ship water. So Sitka airport manager back then, Steve Bell, that was 10 years ago. So he approached me and said, hey, Laura, we already have liquefy equipment to turn urea into liquid. And because New Deal solid works better than urea in the colder temperature, it also has longer holdover time. So wouldn't New Deal liquid be better than liquid urea in ice melting performance and all those features as well? So we're like, sure, logic tells me it makes sense when solid New Deal works better than solid urea. So liquid New Deal should work better than liquid urea. So in order to help out Sitka airport manager, we did a lot of research and came up with mixing formula guidance, how to do that. So all they did was putting a different product in their existing brine tank, mixing tank to mix up New Deal liquid, followed our mixing formula and recommendation. And after they used it several times, they were very happy with the results. So Sitka Airport was the first airport in the US ever in Alaska that experimented turning New Deal solid into liquid. And then 2 years later, Grand Island Airport in Nebraska was the first lower 48 airport that came up with their own brine system, fabricated their own brine system to turn New Deal solid into liquid, and has been doing New Deal liquid and usage ever since then. And ever since then, they have not bought a single gallon of potassium acetate at $7 to $15 a gallon. So it has saved them a lot of money and allowed them to run safe operation with confidence and peace of mind that they don't have to worry about budget. If you're in doubt, it's okay to pre-treat a little bit. It's just much easier. Any questions? I see Devin. Hi, Devin.
Hey, how are you, Laura?
I am good. I haven't seen you ever since Dayton, Ohio.
Yeah, it's been a long time. We've bought your products since though in Rock Springs. Question for you on the liquefaction. We've heard from our FAA certain inspectors that the FAA has not approved the liquefaction. Is that changed recently? Is there new guidance that maybe we're not aware of that allows for the liquefaction of the solid deicer?
That is the most commonly asked question all the time. So Alaska was very used to doing this. And ever since Alaska did it and the other chemical suppliers found out that Sitka Airport was doing New Deal liquid instead of urea, suddenly they were very mad and they were trying to get FAA to ban that practice. So for all the past 10 years, FAA did not ban the practice, but they would not approve it either because they didn't have much knowledge or information. Nobody really knows or know the result or the mixing process. They just don't have enough information to make a decision whether they should approve or disapprove because Alaska has been doing liquefy for 30 years, even before they tried liquefying New Deal. So in 2021, so 4 years ago, I was talking to Burke Rhodes. Back then he was the manager of FAA AAS 300 Division of Safety. He was the boss of all airport inspectors. And so he said, we do not condone or recommend liquefying practice because we don't have enough field information. But we also are not preventing or inhibiting this practice. So like FAA inspectors, they're all different as well. So there's not really a clarification on approve or disapprove. So in 2022, FAA issued a cert alert, a non-mandatory advisory cert alert that said, if you are to liquefy a solid product, the resulting fluid should meet 1435 liquid standard. So what we have done in the past was that we sent our solid sample, New Deal Brine X, a brine grade product, in the mini sack. Devin, your mini sack is brine grade product. So that product, we sent it to the SMI lab. And so the lab turns it into a liquid by following our mixing formula and then using the resulting liquid to test against the 1435 standard. So we have that certification. The reason that the lab liquefies themselves is because they have to duplicate what is being done by the users in the field. So when you as a user follow the same instruction, mixing procedure, formula as what the lab did and mix it with water by following our instruction and guidance, then you are covered under our certification as a user.
Thanks, Laura. Can you give some insight to the group what the ratios are? Let's say I think the mini sacks are 55 pounds, if I remember correctly. And if they are, what does that turn into for total gallons, or what's a super sack generate for total number of gallons?
Yes. So thank you for the questions, Devin. And for the longest time, all the airports were custom designing and fabricating their own setup. So some airports were mixing in a tote with a handheld air wand or electric agitating device, or some people are hooking up a pump to a tote or a pump to a bigger water tank to do the mixing. So everything was customized, even though we do provide the instruction mixing formula based on our 3 types of packaging. One is 40-pound bag, and one is a 1,000-pound mini sack, and one is super sack. So most people use the 40-pound bag and the mini sack because most airports that are doing this are small, medium-sized airports. So in the year of 2023, yes, 2 years ago, my friend customer at Renton Airport in Washington, state of Washington, he called me one day. He said, Laura, this turbo brine maker is badass. It's a 450-gallon brine maker. I made 7 totes of New Deal liquid in one morning. So I'm like, oh my God, tell me about this. He told me to look up this brine maker. I looked up online and I saw $5,000 for this brine maker. And it takes 45 minutes to make 450 gallons just from one mini sack. It's amazing. I thought it's only $5,000 brine maker. Our small airports with limited budget can actually afford something like this to mix New Deal in the most efficient way. And the reason we chose it, this brine maker, later we recommend it to our users for our product, is because the mixing capability, the batching size, 450-gallon, matches perfectly with our 1,000-pound mini sack, which means you dump that mini sack in there and fill it up with water, turn on the pump, and after 45 minutes, you automatically come to the right range of concentration. You can't even go wrong with it. So the recommended concentration that we provide to the user, we recommend at 25% concentration by weight, and that gives you a lowest freeze point of -5 Fahrenheit. However, anything between 23 to 26% of concentration is deemed acceptable in most locations. And now we have also, a long time ago, we were providing a hydrometer to help the users check the specific gravity, and then they have to go to my chart to look at the specific gravity that matches the percentage of concentration that matches the freeze point. But now we have gone high tech from several years ago, and this is a handheld unit. And with a push of a button, so you can see here, go is called MISCO, and there is a New Deal percentage. That will tell you the percentage, and then that will tell you the freeze point. Which one? Yeah, it says no sample. Percentage and freeze point. So this device, it's a digital device, so you open it. After you receive it, you will put a drop of your tap water on it and set 0. That will calibrate. So you go set 0, calibrate with your tap water first, and then this machine will be able to read your fluid mixed with your tap water with great accuracy and ease, because you put a drop on it, and then you push the button, and it's able to tell you the fluid's concentration and its corresponding freeze point. So during mixing, oh, this is what the liquid looks like. Blue liquid. Our pellets are blue, so after you mix it, it's blue liquid. So during the mixing process, with this easy device, you can check your fluid as often as possible, as often as you wish. So the number will change, the number will go up when you're mixing. Obviously, as the pellets are dissolving in water, the concentration will go up. So after a while, the number will stop changing, and then you know all the pellets have been completely dissolved in water. And then you can decide, okay, am I at 24%? Am I at 26%? Do I accept that fluid and pump it into storage, or do I want to adjust it a little bit to add more water or add more pellets to make the concentration and the freeze point adjust, fine tune it a little bit? So pretty easy. It's not rocket science, but there are some details. It's really just like mixing Kool-Aid. But there are tools, are high-tech tools that allows the user to mix it right, to verify that you mix it right instead of pray, wish, hope. Oh, did I mix it right? Now with this device, you know you mixed it right and you know the freeze point. So for example, if you accept a concentration that is different from what we recommend with a freeze point of, let's just exaggerating to make a point. If you accept a fluid with a freeze point of 20 degrees, then you wouldn't apply that product when it's 10 degrees outside, right? Then that fluid will freeze. So there is a lot of common sense involved, but we always recommend that when you start, aim for 25% concentration, but anywhere between 23 to 26% is okay.
Laura, I'm not seeing any other questions in the chat so far, but just a reminder to everybody else in the background here. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat, or I think there's a question and answer tab you can put them in at the bottom of the screen. But I'm currently not seeing any others at this moment, Laura.
Okay. Yeah, so we provide product to a number of small, medium-sized airports in the country. And even the smallest airport, there was one in Massachusetts. I can't even remember the name of the town. So the airport manager bought a pallet of our 40-pound bag, and our 40-pound bag packaging is the best in the world. It's actually, this packaging actually made in Pennsylvania. So it has aluminum inside to protect product from moisture. And it has an easy open spout that you can open with your finger, and even a handle. There's a handle. You can grab it. It is so ergonomic that you don't have to do yoga stretch before you throw these around. So this small airport, he's like, hey, I have people, my tenants need to de-ice in front of their hangars. So he bought a pallet from us, and there are 55 of those 40-pound bags on a pallet. And then as soon as that pallet arrived, he sold 3/4 of them to his tenants at a good profit. So for you smaller airports that are always looking to generate some revenue to cover your cost, that could be one thing to not only help your tenants, your users to use the right product, FAA approved product on your airfield, but also perhaps generate a little more money to cover cost.
Laura, we do that in Rock Springs. We still sell your product to our tenants and make pretty good profit off of it.
Okay, okay, great. You are a enterprise businessman, so congratulations. Thank you for keep doing that. And there's another thing that I wanted to point out because, see, in the past, I have always been salesperson, customer service. I am still customer service. I do everything. I'm such a control freak. I try to let go sometimes, but it's really hard. So I constantly nag, beg, remind, babysit people to make sure things are done right. But through this process of helping, serving our airport users to liquefy New Deal and use it as a liquid product, I have learned so much. And one of them, because I learned from the users, from their observation, their feedback after they use it. So one of the commonly returned feedback was that the New Deal liquid seems to last longer than potassium. And later we found out why. Because potassium acetate, the freeze point curve goes up very steeply. When it dilutes very quickly. And so that's probably why a lot of people always use sand with potassium acetate, because when it dilutes, when it refreezes, in 45 minutes or an hour when the temperature is cold out there, then at least the sand will give you a little bit of traction, kind of like a sandpaper surface, and give you a little better traction and friction. But the New Deal freeze point, because we do research and learn a lot, the New Deal freeze point curve actually goes up a lot more gradual, which means it dilutes slower and with longer holdover time. So that is one advantage of the New Deal liquid compared to potassium. That was all from user feedback. And then there is another advantage, is that potassium acetate never dries up. I don't know if you users have seen it on the field, that if there is potassium on the surface, like our normal imagination is that, okay, if you spill some water on your table, on your floor, after a while the water will evaporate, the surface is the floor is dry. But potassium acetate never dries up, because there is a term called critical relative humidity, which means, so potassium acetate's critical relative humidity is 15%, which means when the environment's humidity level is above 15%, the liquid stays liquid. When the environment's humidity level drops below to 15%, then it dries up. So potassium acetate, it is so hygroscopic. After it absorbs moisture, it holds the water. It would never let go, which is why, what is 15% humidity level? It is Death Valley in July in the middle of the day. That's 15% humidity level. So during our normal environment, it's never below 15%, which is why it's never dry. So if you have any dry snow that comes, or if you have any leftover snow that is being blown across the field, or dry snow from the next event, then it all gets caught. As long as your surface remains wet and sticky, it gets caught, and then you end up blooming for hours. But New Deal liquid, its critical relative humidity is 50%, 50, instead of 15. So when the environment's humidity level is above 50%, it stays liquid. Below 50%, it dries up. So the advantage is that even if you pre-treat with your DIY New Deal liquid, if nothing comes, then eventually it dries up. So next time, if it's wet snow or freezing drizzle, it will activate your residual on the pavement and starts anti-icing. But if it's dry snow next event, it will all just blow across the field. Nothing will stick, or yeah, nothing will stick to it. Very easy. So that is one thing that people in the northern Michigan, northern Minnesota, where they get a lot of very cold precipitation and dry snow, they really value that quality. After it melts ice, then it dries up. This guy in St. Cloud, Minnesota, he said, after New Deal melts ice, it dries up. It's like a dream. Nothing sticks, not like the other sticky potassium. I broom and broom. So they were very happy about the non-sticky quality of their DIY liquid. And then so I thought, Wyoming being very dry, kind of like where I am. I'm living in Denver, Colorado, so we're very dry, and Wyoming is windy. So I think this DIY liquid has its advantage in the non-sticky feature benefit as well.
Okay, yeah, Laura, still not seeing any questions. Again, folks, if you have any, please put them in the chat or the Q&A. Did you have anything else you wanted to touch on, Laura? We'll give folks maybe another minute here to have any last questions filter in.
Well, I guess really the general recommendation is if you are able to anti-ice, pre-treat, well, not necessarily pre-treat before the storm comes, but if you're able to put down early and anti-ice to prevent ice from forming, it's a lot easier and better, and also use the least amount of product, the least amount of time, because it takes a lot less energy, a lot less product or time to prevent ice from forming. It basically, if you put down the product either in solid or liquid form, and when the snow comes, it will, the pellets or the liquid will melt the snow as it's coming down. Eventually, if you just leave it on or not touch it, eventually there will be snow accumulation, but underneath that snow accumulation is slushy and the friction is still good. So for ramp and for taxiway, it can buy you so much time. It can buy you hours at a time, so you can focus on the runway. It really, the biggest advantage of using New Deal de-icer as a pre-treatment anti-icer to prevent ice is that you don't fall behind, because after you fall behind, it's very hard to catch up. Once we have a sheet of ice to deal with, it takes time and lots of product, let alone to not even mention the stress to get rid of the ice. So if we're able to stay ahead and anti-ice, it is much better result, and you will always get the predictable, reliable, consistent result, which is no ice to deal with. If you have a sheet of ice to deal with, then the consistency, the predictability is not as consistent, because after the storm, that is when the very cold, dry Arctic air that comes in. So for a dry product to activate, it needs moisture. So is there enough moisture on the surface to activate? Then you might need to spray some potassium acetate, or if you have DIY New Deal liquid, you need to have the liquid to jumpstart the pellets. After it jumpstart, then it will continue to melt. But that result might not be consistent, just because it depends on what is the surface moisture, what is the surface temperature, how thick the ice we need to melt through. But if you're able to anti-ice, it's always the same. No ice to deal with. So anti-ice when possible. Look at the weather forecast to plan. If I see 60% chance of snow and the at night is gonna drop down to 25-degree, I absolutely pre-treat, because that shows at the temperature. The temperature is an indication of what kind of precipitation we'll get. If it's 5-degree temperature, obviously, then it's probably we're gonna get dry snow. Then you probably don't need to use anything. But if it's 25 degrees, 22-degree, it's most likely wet snow. And then in that case, why not pre-treat a little bit? That will help you buy some time at the beginning of the storm, help you to get your equipment and personnel ready, come in, and it's just much better result.
Laura, we did get a question come in that asking for your guys' website where they can find you online.
newdealdeicing.com.
Okay,
And
I
my
got you pulled up
email
here.
is, yeah, and my email is Laura, Laura, at newdealdeicing.com.
Excellent. Okay, well, we'll do the last call for any questions or comments here. Again, just drop those in the chat. Laura, we do record these lunch and learns and provide them to membership afterwards. So if if there's folks that couldn't make the meeting, they still have access to it. Also, I'll send out your contact information to everybody when we're done here, so they have it. But otherwise, sure appreciate you taking the time to chat with us and share your thoughts. I'm a civil engineer by trade, so I don't really get too in the weeds on de-icing. So it was very, very educational for me. So
Thank you, thank you. Is Bruce happen to be here? Bruce Ransom?
he is not. He had, I think he had some personal stuff come up. So
Oh, that's disappointing. He was the one that believed in me and was so passionate about it. It was funny that he said after he received our product, he just got a handful of New Deal pellets and a handful of the knack balls and throw it in water, fill it up with water in the cup, and then he threw it into the freezer. And then after some day, I don't know how many days, he took it out, and there is more water from the New Deal cup on the bottom of the cup. So that's how he knew New Deal melted more ice. I'm like, that's an interesting way of testing.
you made him a believer, sounds like.
Yeah, well, thank you. It's really our New Deal product. One is reputation, one clean runway at a time. So quality cannot be sold, it can only be experienced. So in my opinion, I don't even, after people use our product and see how it could change their life and save so much money, like for example, when we have so many airports, last winter season, we had 40 airports liquefy and use New Deal in the liquid way after 10 years doing this. So if any of your new airport is interested, you are no longer a guinea pig. It has been figured out in many locations. Our northernmost airport that is using the product this way is Fairbanks in Alaska. Of course, they are not completely getting away with potassium because their weather is just way too extreme, -50 type of thing. But Fairbanks, Alaska is the northernmost airport in the US, and the northernmost airport that is using in lower 48 is like Fargo, or Rylander, Wisconsin, kind of somewhere there. So Fargo, they do it big time. They liquefy 3 super sacks at a time. That gives them 2,700 gallons of liquid per batch.
We did get another question that came in, said, I'm not sure if this was asked and I missed it, but is there a difference in effectiveness with the liquid versus dry pellets?
That's a great question. Thank you. So both liquid and solid products have its advantage. For the longest time when Cryotech was the industry leader, they are the biggest company, they're still the biggest company in the industry. They always preached liquid is for anti-icing, solid is for de-icing. By the time you have to use solid, it's too late. So you always anti-ice with liquid. But potassium acetate, like some of you have seen, it dilutes very quickly. So it's really and again, their solid styrofoam BBs are not made for pre-treating purpose, so you can't really use it as a pre-treat anti-ice way. So because of our New Deal product being so much more flexible and effective using as a pre-treatment anti-icer, then it's a long-term anti-icer. So for our product, I teach people, put down solid to anti-ice. It will give you hours of holdover time per application. Imagine instead of constantly broom spray, you put down the New Deal solid, watch it melt hours at a time. And then you broom it, and if it's still snowing, then you put down another application to extend that holdover time. So New Deal solid is good for long-term anti-icing, but liquid is good for quick catch-up if you have a sheet of ice to get rid of. If you didn't pre-treat with solid to anti-ice, and then you peel the snow accumulation off, but surface temperature is below freezing, you instantly get flash freeze, very thin layer of ice you need to get rid of, then liquid is beneficial because it gives you uniform coverage and instant melting. So liquid deicer is a quick catch-up. Long-term anti-ice with New Deal solid and quick catch-up with liquid. So that is how we recommend, especially for the smaller airports that don't have Denver International or Chicago O'Hare type of equipment or personnel or money to broom juice every 30 minutes, every 45 minutes. They have all that money and equipment. They have 130 people to drive it, and they can afford to juice every 30 minutes, but most smaller airports don't have that kind of money or personnel. So when they use New Deal solid to long-term anti-ice hours at a time, it really helps them buy themselves time and run a much more efficient operation. Because instead of brooming, you're brooming. Don't broom the runway constantly. If you don't have to broom straight for 10, 14 hours, why broom it all the time? So put down some product, and if you have DIY liquid, that since you're only using 25% of the active ingredient, so DIY liquid saves even more money than solid because you're only putting down 25 to 50% of active ingredient per application, but that will give you the confidence and peace of mind. You're like, okay, I see snow coming at night and it's gonna get down to 22 degrees. So the equipment deals with physical pushing or removal, but it has nothing to do with moisture. As long as there is moisture on the pavement, it's gonna freeze sooner or later. So when you have the moisture, when you have the temperature, that is what you gotta watch out for when you see the forecast. So let's say if you see snow forecast overnight starting at 2 a.m. and a surface is gonna get down to 22 degrees, then you kind of have an idea. Maybe in the morning when I come in, we have freezing issue. So in that case, why not throw down a little bit of New Deal liquid, your affordable $2.80 liquid. It's not $7 or $13 a gallon. You can afford to buy yourself some peace of mind.
Thank you for that, Laura. Yeah, so I'm not seeing any. I think we're all caught up on questions, but again, you can find Laura's website at newdealdeicing.com or reach out to Laura directly at laura@newdealdeicing.com. Again, thank you so much, Laura,
Oh,
for
thank
coming
you.
and bestowing your knowledge onto us, and that's very educational. And again, just thank you again for taking the time to come chat with us.
Well, thank you all very much, and happy Thanksgiving to you all and
Yep.
family.
Thank you to you as well, and happy Thanksgiving to everybody on the call. So thanks again, Laura.
Okay, bye.
Bye.